Hey guys, it is December 24th, Christmas Eve 2014. It's also a Wednesday, and it's also pretty late that I'm recording this video. It's about 10, maybe, let me check the time actually. 10:42, wow, a lot later. Time has slipped by. Um, Finally done with school for the term. Took my last final yesterday, and now kind of readjusting to all the sleep I'm able to get. Went to work today, took a nap after getting home, so that was pretty fun. And that's why I'm recording this late because I woke up, had to read the comics, everything, blah blah blah. So jumping into Adventure Time number 35. Um, this is a one shot. It's the last issue that the writer, I think, began with the Adventure Time book. I don't know. I started reading issue. I forget which issue I started reading Adventure Time, but it wasn't issue one. But this is whoever has been writing for at least the entirety of me reading the books. His final issue writing the book. So it's a nice little just one-shot story, no backup story like there are in the usual issue. Just one story completely fully through the book. And it involves Lumpy Space Princess who lost her star, it's normally on her head, lost that star, and is now interrogating the normal crew. So these guys, Marcy, Jake, Ice King, PB, and Finn, and BMO. Yeah, BMO, the little detective suit there, is interrogating them to find out which one of them stole her star, or at least what happened to it. And so after the framing device, which is the first few pages, we get each character's testimony, and it is pretty great. My favorite bit has to be also Party God is in this. Here's everyone. So Party God is also in this. My favorite has to be the first testimony, which is BMO's alibi testimony, whatever. BMO's his narration is done in this film noir style that he's shown to have in the cartoon. There was a BMO Noir, I think, is the episode, like the most immediate episode that comes to mind. And so BMO tells his story, his alibi, and all like you have the his speech is his normal speech or her normal speech, BMO's whatever. But the narration is all like this kind of hard-boiled detective narration. So let me find like it's like these three panels over here. I think it's like just the best example if you can read it. How there's just the dissonance between the two, between the narration and his dialogue, and it's so great. And the rest of the book isn't bad, but just I'm really into that whole noir thing. I think the BMO bit is just BMO's whole thing with that is great. So the rest of the book didn't really measure up in that respect, because each character is then just their normal character, which is still fine. Just I think the BMO one should have been last in terms of pacing for the book. That was my favorite one. And they each tell their own, story of the events that occurred over the night. And then at the end, everything comes together, and we get this final page of everybody all together that folds in. And I don't want to ruin the book myself, but if you fold it in, you can probably tell if I just get rid of this middle bit, it's Finn and Jake and BMO and Lumpy Space Princess walking off into the sunset. So that's a nice way to end this guy's run. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I've not enjoyed an issue of Adventure Time that I picked up so far, and I thought this is a pretty good issue to end up on. Nothing spectacular. It's not this big grand finale, but it's a sweet little issue. It's a good one shot. Hard to say if it's a good place to get started reading because this guy's leaving. I mean, I'm sure they won't. I'm sure they're not following his run with some absolute crap writer. I'm sure the next writers could be just as good, hopefully better. But hard to recommend something on this last episode. unless you want to go back and read everything else, which I do recommend if you'd like Adventure Time, because these books have been really great tie-ins to the television show. Moving on to Future's End, number 34. Following where we picked up last with the Atom shrinking down, well, on the cover, the Atom shrinking down and discovering Father Time's true form, which is some sort of alien squid, mind brain squid thingy. And, you know, picking up where all the stories left off last week, so we start with Dr. Polaris and excuse me, Dr. Polaris and the new Firestorm getting into a fight. Pretty well done fight, short, not given a definitive ending, but it's a pretty good fight. I enjoyed it. New Firestorm still learning how to use her powers. Turned a truck into a teddy bear, which doesn't really help. It helps a little, of course. Teddy bears are better than trucks, but as Jason describes, at its dimensions and speed, it's still going to hurt. Then jumping into the Agents of Shade fight here, where we discover kind of the history of Brainiac and Father Time, and yeah, it's just a really kind of weird, trippy thing that happens that the Atom does to Father Time. Doesn't exactly, you know, it kind of makes you wonder, well, what's going to happen next? This was this really organized organization. They seem to have a plan. Father Time knew what Brainiac was, and now it's not quite sure how they're going to adapt to his what changes by the end of this section of the book, and also a character gets shot. It's not a character who you think would die from this sort of thing. They're established as Hardy, I guess, but they're playing it like he's dying. I don't know what they're gonna do with that exactly, but you know, we'll find out, I'm sure. We then catch up with the Cadmus stuff with Drifter and 50 Sue all finally meeting together and discussing what they're gonna do now. About, you know, now that Cadmus Island is destroyed, they have to recover all the research, and how they're planning to do that, and which characters are going along with this plan or not. Not a lot of really stuff happening. We get some good character interactions, which is nice, between 50 Sue and everybody else. Because, you know, even though she's practically a god, 50 Sue is still an 8-year-old girl and has 8-year-old girl emotions that she's kind of learning how to deal with for the first time, which is interesting. Also catching up with Terry McGinnis, who is being stalked by Bruce Wayne without his knowing, getting basically confirmation that Brother Eye still exists. And then we jump into the future to the Bruce Wayne Joker monstrosity thing, being sent back into the past to terminate Terry McGinnis, and lands right in front of Plastique, and that's where we end the issue. This one, and of course last week's, I thought were a definite improvement over the quality of the book. Just the storytelling is a lot easier to follow. They're still breaking the book up into chunks, but each chunk has a definitive beginning and end. They don't bleed into each other so much, and just the way it's written, you get like a definite story chunk after story chunk after story chunk, where you feel, even if something's not moving along the plot, you discover something new about a character, or something that feels important happens. And just the whole quality, I think, of the storytelling is finally matching the story that they are trying to tell. It's matching the scope and the breadth and the multi-threadedness of it in a way that, you know, makes it sound big, but not confusing and convoluted as a lot of the previous issues did. So there we go with that. Next up is Superman Wonder Woman, issue 14. Picks up where we left off with this new hero. What's his name? What's he calling himself? This new hero, Wonder Star, who saved Superman and Wonder Woman in the last issue from Atomic Skull and Major Force. I mean, we get the first page is introducing us to the probable arc villain of the arc, who seems to have it out for Wonder Woman especially. The decor definitely seems very Greco-Amazonian, probably a Wonder Woman villain. I'm not quite sure who. Um, I'm not sure. Not Morgan Le Fay. Um, what's that other sorceress? Not Enchantress. There's another sorceress in the DC universe. In Justice League, the cartoon turned Wonder Woman into a pig for an episode. I forget what her name was. Pretty sure she's a character in the Greek mythology too. Anywho, that's what I'm guessing it is, because she has a plan. And this issue definitely picks up from last issue. I felt in quality and characterization. Wonder Woman is less of a bitch for no reason at all. Superman and Wonder Woman appear to like each other, just in the dialogue and the way they speak. Like you get, they're both nice guys who want to help Wonder Star, who comes across as like really naive, like immensely powerful but naive character who goes to Wonder Woman and Superman to basically ask for help. He looks up to them. He's like, you're my heroes. I discovered all these new powers. I'm not really sure who I am. Case of amnesia or something. But I landed on Earth. I saw you guys. You guys inspired me to be a hero. I want to learn how to use my powers. Blah blah blah. You guys are so cool. All that sort of hero worship stuff. And Superman and Wonder Woman are really cool about it. They follow him. They answer his questions as best as they can. They're so cautious, of course, but they are helping him through it. We get some more fight scenes where we get to see all three of them in action, working in tandem together, which actually works pretty well. We get a lot of these kind of double team, tag team things going on. We get all three of them punching someone together. It's kind of cheesy, but I don't know. I like cheesy things, I guess. And just this kind of great interaction between these three characters who, two of them are like the most compassionate people in the DC universe, who care a lot for each other, who obviously care a lot for this guy. And then at the end of the issue, they do something that at first felt a lot like jumping the shark. I'm going to spoil this, what it is, so I guess fast forward a bit in this video. I'm not sure how long, but if you scrub along the bottom of the video, you'll see when I'm on to the next book, and you can jump in there, I guess. Sorry, doing this on the fly. I don't really know how long I'm going to talk about anything. But Wonder Star turns out to be Magog. If you're unfamiliar with Magog, he is a character originally from the Elseworlds story Kingdom Come. And in Kingdom Come, which takes place like 50 years in the future or something, Superman and Wonder Woman and all the Justice League. Well, Superman is retired. Wonder Woman, I think she's just on Themyscira now. Batman is still Batman, but he's just like all beat up from his decades of being Batman, so he's like in this robot exoskeleton. The Flash is bonded with the Speed Force, and basically a lot has changed in those few decades, and a new Justice League is basically taken over. I don't think they're the Justice League, they don't call themselves that, but a new group of heroes have taken over, led by Magog, and Magog likes to kill villains. And he gets like public support. This guy, and I think, I want to say like 96 or the late 90s, maybe the early 2000s, maybe like 2001, but I don't think it was that late. It's a really good book, art by not Alan Scott. Alan Scott's a Green Lantern. Art by that guy who paints everything really well and it looks really beautiful. And it's like this hyper realistic superhero painting, and I just cannot remember his name on the tip of my tongue. Pretty sure it's like an Adam or an Alan or a gosh, this sucks. Art by that guy. Really good book, really good. You'd probably pick it up in a collection. I think it's like $15 or something, should be. Just really good book, really influential. One of the first books to really do that whole what if heroes kill villains thing, and that whole is it better for the greater good or whatnot. And Magog was the leader of that second group of heroes. And I'm pretty sure he only appeared in Kingdom Come and I think Kingdom Come might have had a sequel. I didn't read that, but I don't know if he appears in it. But basically, people know him from Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come is the book with Magog in it. And he is this Elseworlds character. He does have this kind of, it's not really a personal history, but that's what he does. He's the hero who goes too far in Kingdom Come and begins killing villains. And as far as I know, this is the first time that he's being imported into the main DC universe. And the way that they're importing him as this guy who's basically going to kill Superman and Wonder Woman. At first I thought like this was a jump the shark moment. This is, oh my god, you know, what a big stunt to bring in this character, and it really does kind of come out of nowhere. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought maybe, you know, maybe this could work out to be really good. Because of the way they characterized Wonder Star before he turned into Magog. So you have this character who begins as this, you know, very kind of idealistic, hero-worshipping guy with these immense powers he doesn't know how to control, and turns into this character who's known for being too extreme and going too far and kind of abandoning the heroes of the past. And so it's kind of like from the Incredibles villain, not symbiote, Syndrome, kind of like Syndrome from the Incredibles, how he goes from this kind of idealistic hero guy to this guy who goes too far, kind of that transformation sort of thing, which it could be interesting to see if it is that same sort of Magog, if they do that sort of story where we see him, and he seems to be fighting the transformation, so right before that final page, we have this big splash page where he doesn't know who he is, so he obviously does have this kind of crisis of consciousness. Has DC done that crossover yet? Crisis consciousness or conscious? Anyway, so yeah, it initially struck me too hard, but it didn't leave as bad a taste in my mouth as I thought it would. So, you know, I'm gonna keep on reading only because this stunt did pique my interest. Next up, we have Superman, issue number 37. Same arc with Ulysses. Might have been the end of like the not the midpoint, but like end of Act 2, I guess, of the arc. We find out what those people mover ships have been, like the real purpose behind those. We get a bit more just kind of fleshing out of Ulysses as a character, and yeah, not much to say about it. Just quick synopsis. Ulysses takes Superman and the 6 million people that he took from Earth back to the 4th dimension. I really like, I know that John Romita's art has been, there are some people I read who didn't like it, who think that his characters, the proportions are off. Superman, like there's this one panel that's been going around Reddit, I know, with Superman's legs look really bad. But overall, I do like Romita's art on this book. I like more, like the more blocky stuff. It's not quite Frank Miller, which I'm not really a big fan of Frank Miller's style, but it's kind of that sort of blockiness, but I don't know, more colorful. I do like the colors. So Ulysses takes his ship and he goes back to the 4th dimension with the 6 million people and Superman, and you have this really nice spread of what the 4th dimension looks like, where it's revealed that Ulysses plans to use the people as a fuel source for the planet, because the planet runs on like life energy and it's running out, so he needs to import people from Earth to power the 4th dimension. Superman, of course, doesn't like this idea. Ulysses is like, no, it's the only way, it's for the greater good. So you have that kind of story that you see a bunch over and over again in these Superman things. Superman says, if you release me, he's kind of trapped, as I showed at the beginning of the books. So Superman tells Ulysses, if you release me, I promise we'll find another way to do this without killing anybody. Ulysses, he's still a good character at heart. So he's like, okay, Superman, I believe you. You haven't let me down yet, so I will do this. He lets Superman out. They decide to go over the ship and, you know, send all the people from Earth back to Earth. I don't know. I happen to enjoy the art in this book, even though, you know, it's not It's not immaculate, but I like it. It has a definite personality to it. And well, throughout this issue, Ulysses brings up, if you could have saved Krypton, would you do that? This is how, my planet's about to die, and this is the only way I can save it. And Superman, you lived through this already. Wouldn't you go to his, whatever length possible? Superman's like, no, I'd find another way. They try, and they fail. And the great world, the great planet, the good, I think it's great world. The great world blows up. And of course, Ulysses blames Superman, and the next issue is probably going to be a big Superman versus Ulysses fight. So yeah, I've liked this issue. Again, like I say, pretty much, or have said with pretty much every issue of this Superman run so far, I do like the moral stuff. I do like it when Superman is the pinnacle of ethical and morality, like just objectionably, he knows the right answer and he can do anything without hurting anybody and get to the best possible ending. And I like when that's kind of challenged, and when he has to prove that there is always a better way, and that's the way you have to keep fighting for it. So I'm just a sucker for that sort of thing. So I like it because at this point it looks like he has failed, and he has failed spectacularly. And he's just making Ulysses drift further and further apart from him. And I'm enjoying the story. It's not the best Superman story. It's not even the best Superman story with this sort of premise, but I am liking it a lot. So, yeah, that's really all I have to say about that, I guess. And I can't wait for the big fight because I also like big superhero fights, especially when they establish all the, motives and stuff beforehand. So everything, it doesn't feel like they're just fighting for no reason. I think they're building up to that pretty well. Next thing I want to talk about is Gotham by Midnight, issue 2. The end of this introductory arc, pretty much. Last issue ended with this happening, basically all the spooky supernatural stuff getting unleashed during this other guy's ride along. I forget what is it? Is it a ride on? It's not a ride on. Anywho, ride along. It is ride along. So jumping right in the middle of that, where all the supernatural freaky stuff is going down, and the Gotham and the police have to deal with it, basically. To put it frankly, the Sister Justine character gets a bit of a backstory here. We discover how she met Jim Corrigan and joined the police under this group. And that's like a pretty good mini story within the overall issue. It is a bit hard to follow, if only because the art between the future and the past isn't immediately distinct. And they're dealing with similar shaped characters, so in both stories there's an evil monster nun, so it could be hard at first to realize whether or not you're in the present and you're in the present monster nun story or the flashback monster nun story. Both have heavy tones of sepia, which is normally reserved for flashbacks and is used in the flashback, but is also used in the present day story heavily with the same sort of So in the flashback you have like evil nun monster, and then in the present you have the evil nun monster thing. And so yeah, long story short, they end up defeating the nun monster, both of them. Jim Corrigan defeats both nun monsters once in the flashback by using the Spectre, and we also find out why he avoids using the Spectre. Because the Spectre kills anyone with any sin, any impurities in their soul, regardless of their threat. So when he unleashed the Spectre in the flashback, it killed everybody in the church except for Sister Justine. I just said her name, it'd be wrong. It would be like really bad if I got that wrong. Yeah, Sister Justine killed everybody in the building, and with this one he avoids using the Spectre and instead uses a trick with his cell phone. That's pretty good. It's a pretty fun trick, I thought, reading. It's like, oh yeah, that's pretty neat that he's prepared and has like an app for that on his phone. And then of course, after everyone comes home, we get the characters talking about how this is just one part of an even bigger mystery that they're probably going to investigate in the next arc, and over and over and over again, until it finally reveals itself and solves itself, or rather they solve it. So overall, I enjoyed this. I thought it was a pretty good follow-up. I liked the getting to see all the characters like in action. Before it was more slow-paced investigative stuff, and now here they're actually doing some fighting. There's some conflict that they have to deal with supernatural things attacking them outright. The lead into the mystery is pretty good, seeing how all the characters are using their skills to solve this mystery step by step. That's more in the beginning and the end of this issue, but there we go, more so in the end of this issue than anything else. And then seeing all the characters bounce off each other. I also, as I said in the last issue, really enjoy the art. Again, it's stylized. I get that not everyone will enjoy the art, but I do a lot. I still think it looks like the scariest Roald Dahl book ever illustrated. Just that sort of character design. So yeah, I'll definitely be picking up the next issue of this. I'll be following it until I'm sick of it. And I'd recommend that you do the same. Next book we have, how many do we have left? We have five books left. So the next one is Arkham Manor, issue 3. I felt this issue definitely picked up from the last two. I mean, I liked the last two enough to pick up issue 3, but I thought this one definitely picked up the pace, definitely picked up the plot and what was going on. We start with Bruce in disguise in Arkham Manor in the hospital after recovering from being knocked out by whatever was killing inmates in Arkham Manor. And then he goes into full Batman investigation mode as he impersonates one of the doctors, steals keys, and tries to find out what really happened in that cell. So before we had a lot of kind of Bruce just sulking about, and we finally see him take more immediate and definite action in this issue, which I think the book kind of needed at this point. It needed Bruce doing something instead of just responding to things. And so we have Bruce discover that the wall wasn't quite as solid as an inmate's wall might, you might want an inmate's wall to be. And he goes investigating inside the skeleton of his old house, where he finds some things that are weird and not so good. Meanwhile, the inmate who was attacked last issue is being escorted to a medical facility for treatment after being attacked, where he falls into a hole and is rescued by by Eric Border, who is, I don't know the term, is he an orderly? Is orderly the right term? But anyway, Eric Border goes down to rescue him. Of course, we know that Eric Border is in fact the Joker, which they don't keep a secret for the whole issue, because it wouldn't really make sense to keep that a secret because it was revealed, what, like 2 months ago at this point? So we get a little bit of what Joker was doing, before Endgame, which I thought was neat. Kind of filling in that a bit. Bruce gets into a fight with the mystery attacker who's been attacking people in the asylum, who isn't Zaz, like was first suspected. In fact, we get this really great reveal. Um, I think where I just really like this super stylized art. I love the eyeball, just the pupil that is so in shock as like it almost completely disappears, and then we see Zaz just trapped in the wall, um, obviously tortured, and yeah, then we find out what's going on with the wheelchair guy, and that turns out to be someone who I didn't suspect. If you remember last month, I thought it would be Dr. Destiny. Turns out to be Clayface, and the Joker messes with Clayface and turns him into this thing, which I just thought was amazing. Clown face, which is Joker Clayface. I think that's neat. So yeah, this book really picked it up. I got some comments on previous Arkham Manor reviews where I've talked about Arkham Manor saying the book is a little too slow, if you don't like it. I'd say give it another try, pick up this issue, and see what you think of it. Because the action is beginning to happen. Characters taking it into their own hands. Bruce Wayne, especially in disguise, taking action, leading instead of following, acting instead of responding, I guess, to the story. And we have all the villains kind of come together and start revealing themselves. So, if you thought it was a bit slow, try this issue and see if it does not pick up enough for you. Moving on to Grayson Annual #1. And if you've watched previous videos where I've talked about Grayson, I really enjoy Grayson a lot more than I thought I would at this point. And this is the first annual, first bigger issue for Grayson, and they do a really good side story that feels like it could have been, like all annuals should, feels like it could have been a regular issue of the book, but bigger. Quick synopsis is that Helena Bertinelli has been captured in Ireland by this small-time kind of gangster. Made bombs for a lot of people. Made lots of bombs for lots of people all over the world. And he's organizing a trade with this mobster, this gangster in Ireland, who's headed out for Bertinelli, because Bertinelli is still in this story the daughter of a mafioso. And so now the Irish mafia wants Bertinelli in order to get their revenge on Helena's father. And so the guy who captured her is making a trade with that guy's people. And it's very kind of slow, this story. It's a lot of dialogue, very dialogue heavy, not a lot of action. As the gangster, Rocky, Rolo, what was his name? Rock, as Rock describes how he captured Bertinelli, and just tells a lot of stories. He tells about his backstory, how he got involved in Gotham, how he ran into Bertinelli, how he discovered, how he broke through the Hypnos, which disguises their identity, and how you can see through that. And just like a lot of interaction between these three characters, who are like nobodies. These aren't main characters. But we get this interaction about them talking about Dick and Helen. And then, of course, at the end, we get everything unravels itself. Also, in the book, at various points, Rock tells this Irish, I'm guessing it's an Irish myth or an Irish folktale about these two giants. And so that's sprinkled throughout as kind of an allegory or a metaphor. And then at the very end, everything unravels. We discover who people really are. people who might have been lying about their identity, because it's a spy book, first and foremost. Um, I don't want to spoil too much because it is really good, and it is the sort of reveal that if you do pay attention, you'll be like, oh yeah, okay, this is you'll catch it a mile away. But if not, it still makes sense, and it's not like just an arbitrary thing that they hint towards. It's something that makes sense throughout the story, even if you never see it coming, and you can read it twice and be like, okay, yeah, this is how it naturally unravels itself to be how it is. Um, yeah, just a really good book. It's something that can handle not being a superhero comic really well and just being this kind of straight spy thriller book, which is really cool. It definitely uses Dick Grayson, like the Dick Grayson character, um, for appeal, and it uses him really well just as a character who we've come to know, how he behaves. But I can also see this being just a completely original thing. Um, it works on its own merits as an original story really well. Um, and just this single issue is really exemplifies that, a lot more than the others because it feels so removed from the rest of the DC universe in a large way. Um, yeah, it tells its story really well. The dialogue is really well written. The dialogue is written in an Irish accent for some of the characters, but not obnoxiously so. It's not one of those really obnoxious accent things. And yeah, just a really good book overall. I definitely recommend it. I recommend reading Grayson, get into it. I don't know if a trade is out yet of it, but pick up back issues if you can. If it's in trade, pick up that. And pick up this book because Grayson is really good. Even if you don't like superheroes, if you just like more spy stuff. If you do like superheroes, just try it out. I've had a lot of fun with it. Moving on to Batman Eternal, which last week, I thought was in a bit of a slump, and I think it picks up from that slump this week, where we have basically two main stories we're following instead of the three we were last issue. Each of them pretty simple and straightforward. So the first one we get is Batman doing a raid, doing basically an insurgent attack on the hideout where the inmates from Arkham Asylum, the supervillains, where they're hiding out. We met them last issue. We get more of them this issue as Batman stops each of them one by one. So their stories come together really well. We get to see them just in their hideout talking amongst each other, forming alliances and not so alliances. And then we see in Blackgate Penitentiary, we see how Jim Gordon's holding up with Calabresi, who they have this weird kind of relationship where neither of them really like each other. Calabresi seems to respect Gordon, and he's now big man of the house. He's big man on campus again. So we get to see them interacting, and it's a pretty good interaction. I like old people talking to each other in fiction, not so much in real life, but in books I like when older guys talk to each other about things. They usually know what they're talking about in fiction. We also get some pretty good fight scenes. Main big fight scene in this book is between Killer Croc and Bane, and goes in a way that, if you know how Killer Croc and Bane fights usually go, is a very nice subversion of that. Killer Croc versus Bane is a fight they've done at least twice. They did it when Bane first debuted in Nightfall. They did it in the Forever Evil Arkham War, which was the crossover during Forever Evil, and they fought. And they do it again here, and it shows a lot of character development over those past fights. Killer Croc adapting, Bane not so much adapting, you know how it is. So that's a pretty cool fight scene that explores those characters. and again, they're interacting, they're talking about themselves as they interact. It's very well done character development and story progression at the same time. Also see Batman getting into, crashing through windows, punching out people. Classic Batman stuff, really fun. And yeah, those are basically the two stories we get. At the end, we get a little bit with Catwoman and Poison Ivy, because Catwoman is now very deeply entrenched in everything. She's the new kingpin of the mafia, and she's also has all of her connections with the with the Batman Rogues Gallery. So it's interesting to see how she's balancing those kind of two sides of crime in Gotham, playing with the supervillains and the mafia, which have usually been kind of separate in Batman stories. And so she's bringing those two together in really interesting ways, ways that have a lot of potential in the future of Batman books. So yeah, definitely improved from the slump it had, and yeah, just story didn't really move forward that much in this issue. The kind of dropping the whole who's behind the whole thing aspect. Scarecrow gives Batman a hint, of course, because they have to move that along even slightly every issue, but more of a just kind of a breather, I guess. Not so much a complicated mystery book. This one is more action based, which is nice, which is good for pacing. Next, we have Batman Annual number 3, ties into Endgame and really explores what the Joker was up to between Death of the Family and Endgame as Eric Porter. And this follows Thomas Blackcrow, who is currently an inmate in Arkham Manor, and how he transformed from a war correspondent and journalist to how he went insane and ended up in Arkham Manor. And it is a Joker story overall. It is him interacting with the Joker, and gosh, the Joker is just so fucking creepy nowadays. And what they do, and I think what's made the Joker so creepy in the New 52 overall, is that they've made every interaction with Joker, they made every appearance with Joker turn into a relationship. Where it's not just interacting, it's not just superhero, supervillain stuff, it's this intimate relationship between the Joker and whoever the Joker is terrorizing. So it turned the Batman Joker thing from, just from superhero and arch nemesis into this kind of bond that Joker felt. And as Joker explains it, you kind of agree with them. You feel, oh wow, they do have this really fucked up relationship. And with this, they do a very similar thing, where the character Blackcrow becomes the Joker's first friend, and we see how Joker treats his friends, and it goes as well as you'd expect, pretty much. With the Joker slowly driving this poor guy insane. It reminded me a lot of the Batman the Animated Series episode Joker's Favor, in that it follows like a totally innocent guy who just gets roped up into the Joker's life somehow, and is just constantly tormented by the Joker. And we see how this relationship grows like a cancer. To be cliched, it does grow like a cancer, consuming his life and withering him away. And it goes to show, like, the Joker, he's not insane. He obviously knows what he's doing is wrong, but he's so good at rationalizing it to himself and to other people. He's charismatic. There's no other way to put it. The Joker is a charismatic villain. And even when you are completely appalled and disgusted and revolted by him and what he's doing, you pay attention. you want to know like what's behind that, what makes him tick, and it's just amazingly written. Um, and this is the Joker again. You have him building these relationships with people, and that's how we get his character. It's not. This is the Joker. This is his character coming across in his actions as much as what he's saying. It's just it is incredible stuff. If you want like just a really good Joker story, I would recommend this book 100%. Batman is barely in it. He's in it for one scene, but this is a Joker story through and through. It's just so amazing. I'm out of words. It is really good. Yeah, just how the Joker takes this small little thing that this guy did and turns and ruins his life, turns it into something personal and devastating, and just ruins this guy's life slowly just turns everything on its head. And we see like kind of why the Joker is so dangerous, because he can do this, because he is smart and charismatic and enigmatic, and just he can be everywhere and anything, just evil all around you. And at the end is crushing. It's like the end to 1984, where the I forget his name in 1984, but the main character fighting Big Brother the entire book, and at the end gets brainwashed and loves Big Brother. Very similar sort of ending here. We get kind of a Stockholm Syndrome thing going on, but just so devastating and so creepy and just bone chilling. And yeah, the Joker is dangerous in this story. I think it's like if you just want to throw an issue at someone and be like, this is why the Joker is Batman's greatest threat, here you go. It is like just straight horror thriller, personal attack, just amazing stuff. And the last book this week is Robin Rises Alpha, the definitive end of the Robin Rises arc. In the last, well, not the last issue, but in the last issue of Batman and Robin, we see Batman finally bring back Damian from the dead. And this issue is basically a big congratulatory fight scene with Kalibak. So the issue opens with a recap of what happened in Batman and Robin, if you haven't been following with that. So we get a scene where Batman takes the crystal and returns to the Batcave. And the Kubrick art is just fantastic. It's definitely one of the selling points of this book is that Kubrick is doing the pencils, and it is amazing art. And I hope my camera picks it up enough to really do it justice, because this book looks amazing. And it's printed on really nice paper. It's not printed on your standard comic paper. It's printed on like thicker matte paper. So yeah, this is just a pleasure to look at. Even if you're not reading it. So the first few pages are just a recap of that, bringing Damian back to life. And then we discover that the boom tube didn't close at the end of Batman and Robin. The boom tube is still open, and out through it comes Kalibak. And the rest of this book is basically a fight scene between Kalibak and the Bat family with newly revived Damian, who has superpowers. So he has super speed, just constantly zipping all over the place. Super strength, able to deliver a punch to knock Kalibak out like that. Considering the relative sizes. And like super endurance. Gets thrown into the penny, crushed by the penny, ends up throwing the penny back at Calabac. And yeah, most of this issue just a huge fight scene between the Bat family and Calabac. We got to see Damian back in action, which, you know, as kind of emotionally cheap as bringing back Damian is, it is fulfilling. It is great to see him back. I like Damian as a character a whole lot. I was sad when Morrison decided to kill him off. I am glad that they brought him back. I do think he's a really cool character, a really cool Robin, and I love his interaction with Bruce and the rest of the Bat family. Um, and and yeah, I mean, it has gone on too long. To be completely honest, this whole Robin Rises thing should not have lasted as long as it did. Um, but it is very fulfilling by the end of this book. It is really good to have Damian back, and yeah, this just as a single issue, I can't recommend as a single issue because it is this tie into this really long story. But just as an issue where something big happens, or something big is explored, and you have this big kind of congratulatory "we brought Robin back" fight scene, and then this is like the final splash page. Um, it feels really good to read. It is a spectacle. It is all spectacle, but it's so damn cool. I can't not like this book. So there we are, and the art, I love the art. So that is Robin Rises Alpha. I just realized they began with Omega and started with Alpha because they're doing the opposite thing. Anyway, and that is all the books for this week. Another long video. Sorry about that. Had a lot to say. And 10 books. So, anywho, again, yeah, thanks for watching. If you made it through, I hope you enjoyed it enough. I mean, if you made it through 50 minutes, I'm pretty sure you enjoyed it at least enough to make it through the video, which is, you know, that's testament to something, I'm sure. And, yeah, if you liked it enough to actually click the like button, that'd be cool of you. If you want to subscribe and hear me talk about comics and other things every week, I'd appreciate that too. If you have any comments or anything, feel free to leave them below or PM me or whatever. And yeah, thanks for watching, and hope to see you next week with more books. See ya.